My parents put me in dancing school when I was 6 years old because I think I was born with a 36-inch inseam. I have, I mean, my legs were so long, my arms were so long. And I also was knock-kneed and pigeon-toed. And I had corrective shoes, right? So mother and dad put me in the Judamar School of Dance, and that was Marion Cuyjet's school. Marion Cuyjet had red hair, green eyes, and white skin. She was a black woman. And she was determined to have African American children be able to study ballet in Philadelphia. It was very difficult. But I tell you, because I had her training, which included ballet, because by the time I was 10, I was studying with Anthony Tudor. I was a little 10-year-old protege that was studying with, somebody had to remind me of
That's
that.
extraordinary.
You know what I'm saying? So Curated, I knew inside out and backwards, and I learned tap, thank goodness, because I ended up on Broadway with Gregory Hines, tapping. I learned Dunham technique, which she is the mother of us all, Miss Dunham. I learned, acrobatics and found out I had no back. That's a terrible thing to find out when you're doing cambray and you realize, I can't cambray. You know what a cambray is? If I bent back and, but I can hinge like crazy. I can do a hinge. A hinge is different, that means you're going back like this, right, like that. So I could do that. I couldn't arch. I couldn't arch very well. So I learned all of these things under her roof, everything, and also tea dances. She used to have tea dances on Saturday, and we had to wear our skirts, which I looked horrible in. The skirts, because I had high waist, long legs, no waist, and it was the era of the cinch belts and those poodle things on the thing, and it was horrible. It was horrible. But we had tea dances. You had to dance this far apart, and we had to wear gloves. Wow. And the gentleman, it was wonderful, wonderful way of growing up. Besides learning how to play the piano from my father, the school gave us violins so that we could learn. My brother played the clarinet, blah, 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 blah.
And I learned something from the book that I hadn't realized, which was that that Miss Marion's teacher was Essie Marie Dorsey,
yes.
who had studied with Denishon.
Yes.
So
I know, it's connected. It's so connected.
It's all connected.
Absolutely.
So the school that Ted Shawn and Ruth St. Dennis founded, in essence, was the school of your teacher's teacher.
Yes, for the ballet.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you also talked about having a shrine of photographs on your bedroom wall. Tell
Freddie
us about
Franklin was one of them, Danilova was another one, and Carmen de Lavalade was the other one. But I mean, there were those old postcards that I don't know if you've ever seen them before, but everybody's like, oh, I mean, they look absolutely divine. Who knew of all the postcards I had up there, if all of them could dance, but they sure knew how to take a picture.
Yeah.
Tamara Tamanova was up there. Tanakil.
Yeah.
Just everybody was on that wall as I was growing up. Yeah. But my connection with Carmen de Lavalade was Donald McHale's choreography in a program that I think it would come on CBS, and it was Giancarlo Manatti's Amal and the Night Visitors. And Carmen used to dance in that.
And you
production.
Saw this on television
every Christmas time. I would see that. When we got the television, that wasn't until a little late. But still, I'm getting to see your image in front of you on television. To see, oh, my goodness, oh, there's a woman of color in front of me doing this. It opens your eyes to the possibilities. And Marion had already done that. Yeah. And of course, my parents had given me the opportunity to see everything. There was the Philadelphia Art Museum, the Rodin Museum, it wasn't just Rocky standing up there going like this, There were wonderful, wonderful things happening in Philadelphia. My church, Mother Bethel AME Church, my goodness, I was born and raised in that church. I'm now a member of Abyssinian Baptist Church, but, I grew up in that church.
But those resources, I mean, I think it's appropriate to mention that Miss Marion had to fight pretty hard to make sure that she had a school.
Oh,
that,
yes.
that because you talked about her being evicted every
and
time.
having to move. We
Every
moved
time.
about 6 times in maybe 10 years because, you know, this woman, she'd get her foot in the door, everybody thought everything was all right, and then all these little black ballerinas would come in back behind her, and that door would slam so quickly. But she was the first African-American woman to rent space in downtown Philadelphia.
And she was absolutely committed to that, so
Yes.
much so that she kept going back and,
Absolutely.
and making sure.
And also farming us out. I mean, I studied with some incredible teachers that maybe you, do you remember Jelensik? Frano Jelensik, I think that was his name. Or there was a guy named Judith Jamison who was an incredible,
like,
no, Irish. I'm doing the castanets and trying to do like this at the same time. And I should have just put my arms down and gone like this. Like this. But he was a champion Scottish Highlander.
Yeah.
Thank you. And an incredible ballet teacher. And I studied with him, a guy named Yuri Gottschalk. And of course, my first gig in New York was with American Ballet Theater.
Yeah, I want to
So-
get to that, but just before we get there, I want to ask you about your debut was as Mirta in Giselle at the age of 15
Yes.
in
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So you were still.
That picture's in the book, too.
Yeah, it
right?
is. Thank you for recreating it
Right?
for us.
No, but I was so serious, you know. When I was 14, I was teaching 9-year-olds. I was teaching ballet to 9-year-olds,
That's
right?
fantastic.
And that's
Wow.
when I found out what a ferocious teacher I was. You know, you could vouch for that, right? You guys, we have a student over there. I'm surprised you're sitting. But in any event, I was a real taskmaster.
Yeah.
Still am.
So tell us, DeMille taught a guest class.
Yeah, I was going to the Philadelphia Dance Academy, which is now the University of the Arts. And there was the Philadelphia Music Academy and the Dance Academy, and we ran back and forth between both places. So one evening, she was teaching a master class. I was exhausted. I'd been taking classes all day long. I'm not interested. Not interested. Me not interested in Agnes DeMille, right? Loving her work, loving everything she was doing. And she came. I said, somebody dragged me to the class. He said, come on, you have to take this one. I took the class, and at the end of the class, she said, would you like to come and be a guest artist with a ballet that I'm reviving with Ballet Theater with Carmen de Lavalade as the lead?
And
I
you
just
said, let me think it over. Yeah.
Now, easiest answer in the world, sure.
Yeah.
And I still didn't realize the
Yeah.
monumentalness of that experience.
Well, it's interesting for me, too, to read about this and hear DeMille saying that this master class that she taught, most of the people in the class were fairly ordinary, and then she said, and this one girl was astonishing. So clearly she saw something there.
She did. I don't know what. Because what was wonderful, it was because we were doing walk, skip, jump. I mean, the simplest things in the world. Nothing, but those are some of the most important things that a dancer can do. Walk, skip, run, stand still. You know? Very important. If you can't do those, then, you know, I don't care if you can do, you know, your 32 fouettes, you know what I'm saying? Or if you can do a lateral until a lateral is a position where you just tilt all the way over, lateral T position, and hold it in releve and do all kinds of roll the hand. I don't care whether you do all that. If you don't know how to put weight to stillness, if you don't know how to put energy in clear space when you run, if you don't know how to make curves out of the sky, out of what we don't see, you create. it's such a treasure to be a dancer, such a treasure. And you're born that way, I might not be able to still, carry the umbrella and do this, which I know y'all enjoy seeing me do this. I know that. I might not be able to do that the way I did, but it's always in me. And it's always in me to pass along to each generation what I know. But what a gift to be able to do whatever you do, and do it excellently, which is what we're going to do tomorrow. For sure.
Well, so you go to New York, and you're suddenly guesting with American Ballet Theater.
Yes.
That's quite a way to hit New York as a 22-year-old.
Yes. I think I was 22. It fluctuates, depends on the day. 21 and a half. 20. Yes, it was. And because Carmen de Lavalade and Jeffrey Holder took me under their wings, and I lived in their house, and they would, because Carmen was the star, it was called the Four Marys, and Carmen was the fourth Mary, and she knew all the stars. So I walked into, at one moment, everybody you can think of from that era, Johnny Creetza, and Tony, come on, help me out here. Who's a dancer here? Tony who?
Tony Lander?
Tony Lander, thank you. You just name them.
And they had
I was hanging out with them.
Right.
Anton Dolan.
Yeah.
I went to a party and he was sitting on the floor talking, just, how he was. He was like very, he was very like this, right? He was very open. I was socializing with all these people because I knew
Because
Carmen.
of Carmen.
The quarter ballet people used to look at me with venom in their eyes.
Well, you had sort of leapfrogged right over them in
wow.
coming in, right? You came into this soloist
And I would
position.
go up to the quarter ballet dressing room, and I was going like this, and you could feel it with a knife. Like, oh, because then they knew I would go out and then party with, the stars. So, yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily an unbroken ascendancy from that point onward, was it?
No, because that ballet was specifically about a Southern couple with 4 slaves, and the master fell in love with that gorgeous slave, and that just made a mess of a dramatic ballet. It was the Four Marys. As I say, she was the fourth Mary. But after I took my first plane ride to Chicago on a Pan Am Clipper, 4 propellers, at my first opera house. That was the first time I danced. I danced at State Theater, and then I danced in the opera. After that, the gig was up. That was it. There were no black people running around in ballet theater. That was it. That was it. So I went to the log flume ride at the Texas Pavilion at the World's Fair, and I pushed buttons, and changed levels of water, so you would come out a little bit wetter when I was operating. And I worked with 400 Texans and Floridians, students. It was a wonderful experience. And then after that, that I went to an audition because a wonderful woman who was the pianist for American Ballet Theater named Martha Johnson sent me to an audition that Donald McHale was giving for Harry Belafonte. It was a Harry Belafonte special about Roaring Twenties. There was a story so similar with the men dancers. You all were fabulous the other day. Did you all see them? Did you see the men, the horse's mouth? Oh my gosh. But there's a similar story where somebody turned up in a completely different outfit. Who is that? They were in I showed up with leg warmers, right, that I had made myself, very, very nice. They happened to be pale green, and pink ballet slippers, the tights, a little skirt, and my leotard. And
you had been operating the log flume
ride
rather
and
than
I had not taken class in 3 months.
Yeah.
Still no excuse, I was terrible at the audition. But people showed up with lashes out to here, wigs, stilettos, the whole 9 yards, and I'm going like Tanju at the bar, and people are bumping and doing all kinds of stuff, and I'm going like, okay, what is this? And a wonderful woman who turned into an actor, Paula, I'll think of her name. Anyway,
Kelly?
Paula Kelly, thank you. Paula Kelly was demonstrating. Have you ever seen Paula Kelly dance? This woman, oh my goodness, she's a fantastic dancer, incredible dancer. She was demonstrating. So I was so fascinated by the movement she was doing, I didn't learn a thing. I didn't get it. I didn't understand what step 1, 2, hold 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm used to ballet terminology. So I want you to say glissade to me, assemblée, entrechat, royale, pas de chat, arabesque, passe, contretemps. You know, I want to hear that vocabulary. No, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, and And I'm in that groove, but I don't know what they're doing. So I failed miserably.
And you said that Donnie kept you in, though.
Donnie was such a gentleman to me because he kept me in the audition to the last cut. For all I know, he had been saying thank you very much, but I didn't understand thank you very much to go. So I was still
You're welcome.
there.
I'm still here. Yeah.
So anyway, down to it. He kept me to the last cut. I went running out of not running, but I was, being the drama queen that I am, I went out up these steps, and there was a man sitting on the side of the steps. And I went across the street to call my mom in Philadelphia on a payphone, and I called her and got my little change out and said, Mom, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I have to stay here. Blah, 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 blah. And 3 days, it was either 2 days or 3 days later, I get a call saying, my name's Alvin Ailey, would you like to join my company?
And he was the man who was sitting
That's
there on the way.
That's the man that was sitting on the steps. Everything, the universe is in order,
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. We're supposed to be where we're supposed to be. You know?
Well, you were definitely where you were supposed to be
That's
that day.
right.
Yeah.